Hello Coastline, Andy Rollins here, and I hope I have some words of encouragement for you today. I'd like to ask a question and then submit 3 answers to that question. And the question is, where is God? The first answer is He's seated on His throne, sovereign over everything, over all creation, over all nations, over all people, over life, over death, and over the hearts of every man and woman, whether they're believers or not. You may ask, well, what about coronavirus? Well, a quick search of the word pestilence in the Bible, and you'll find that it's in 51 verses, and in all of those verses, God's still God. And in fact, in 31 of those verses, it actually names God explicitly as the direct agent that's applying the pestilence. In 2 Chronicles 7:13, for example, it says, "Then the Lord said to Solomon, when I shut up the heavens so that there is no rain, or command the locust to devour the land, or send pestilence among my people." Do I mean to say that I know what God is up to? Absolutely not. And He doesn't need to tell us. He's God. In fact, there's many biblical examples that show that He has a very good reason for not telling us what He's up to. During one of my son's 6 open heart surgeries, they allowed me to escort him into the operating room. And as I held a mask down on his face, and I looked through tears at his tear-filled eyes, he would claw against the mask and he'd be crying out, "Daddy, Daddy, what are you doing to me?" And of course, all I could tell him was, "Trust me, son, I love you." He would have never understood what he was about to go through, but he needed to go through it. Without heart surgery, he was going to die. So if that type of an exchange can happen between an earthly father and his son, isn't it at least plausible that God has good purpose for what He's doing to us? But God isn't just on His throne. It also says that He left His throne and He came to live and dwell among us. God's not aloof when it comes to suffering. He's not distant when it comes to suffering. In fact, He plunged directly headfirst into it. He suffered infinitely more than any of us will ever understand. But it doesn't end there. We have a triune God. So not only does God reign and rule on His throne, not only did He come and dwell among us, but it says until He returns, He dwells within us. 1 Corinthians 3:16 says, "Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells within you?" Church, we are the salt and the light of the earth. We are God's instrument of change. His response to the brokenness in the world, He says, "I've given you time, talent, and treasure. What are you doing with it?" So where is God? We'll look around at the church, the true church. They've received new hearts, and they're being redeemed even now and redeeming the world around them. In the suffering, they're being purified. So what are we to do? Going back to those some of those verses in pestilence that speak about pestilence, He tells us what we're to do. He says, when, not if, but when, I send the pestilence among my people, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, will pray, will seek His face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sins and heal their land. That's repentance from sin. Repentance is not just to stop doing what I ought not to do, but it also means doing what I'm commanded to do. Do I see injustice and not act? Do I see a need that I can meet and fail to meet it? Do I love my neighbor? Do I love my enemies? That's repentance from sin. If we, the church, turn from our evil ways, He will indeed heal us. This verse isn't as much a list of criteria that we need to do before God changes the world. These criteria are some of the very mechanisms by which He'll change the world. Through us, His church. What an amazing responsibility and opportunity for us. The church is the healing in the land when they're humble, praying, seeking His face, and ridding themselves of their wickedness. Where is God in this world? It's in you. It's right here. So where are you taking Him today? God bless you.